What's up, guys, and welcome back to Paint Bravely, the podcast where you can find a little bit of encouragement, discover new ways to make your hobby more fun, and most importantly, learn to paint bravely. Now, today we have some good back and forth. I think we've both done quite a bit since the last time we talked. We've got
busy
a little
week.
bit of, definitely a busy week. It's been a real busy week. Got some hot tips to throw out there. We got a little bit of news, and I think that's what's going on today. So why don't we start off as per usual? Brent, what did you just pour in that cup, and how have you been?
This is lemonade. It's a hot day out there. It's a real scorcher. So we're doing lemonade today, and I've been great. Thanks for asking, Casey. You know, we're gonna start it right off hot here. Not with a hot tip. We're gonna save that for later. Yeah. Keep you interested all the way through. But I just need to let you know, in case you're not already aware, you can turn Space Marines into fishing lures and catch some pretty nice bass with them.
That's right.
That's right. The experiment needed to be done. I did it, and somehow it worked.
It is now my favorite thing on the internet.
Thanks, Casey. That means a lot. It means a lot.
By far.
Wonderful. So wonderful. So the Ultramarine did a pretty good job, and the Imperial Fist really did a good job.
Should have guessed it with the Imperial Fist. You know, I was talking about the last podcast. We were kind of making predictions about it and stuff. A lot of votes, I think, at least for me, for that Imperial Fist. Because I had that spoon that was like the yellow spoon with the big red dot. Like, that has always done well for me. And that's essentially like classic Imperial Fist, right? They got the red trim on the shoulder pads and they're all yellow. So
yeah, there's a couple of ways that you can paint Imperial Fists, but they're all yellow, and mine indeed had the red trim on the shoulder pads.
Yeah, I feel it.
He had the correct iconography as well. You know, the fist on his left shoulder pad. He had the arrow for mainline troop on his right shoulder pad. He was looking okay. Okay, I'd say.
He was looking okay.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Yeah, I'm gonna give you a little more credit. Like, he looked pretty good. Thanks. For like a you want to call it like a battle ready tabletop marine. He looked good. He did.
Yeah, he was a test model from, I don't know, maybe a few months before I actually started the channel. So I was just real quick and dirty, throwing on some yellow, throwing on some washes, learned how to put some decals on there.
Yeah.
He looked okay. I cleaned him up just a little bit to make a lure out of him. I did freshen up the red trim just a little bit because I knew that was going to be real important.
Yeah, that contrast in those fish makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, man, I don't know where we go from here, but
I guess you definitely can go fishing again.
I could go fishing again. So something I did find was that durability was a little bit of an issue. So partially with the paint jobs, on a few of them I was noticing it seemed like some paint was coming off. I did put on 3 layers of airbrush varnish, but maybe I should have gone out and just gotten the most toxic industrial spray paint varnish and just gone heavy, used my strong finger on the trigger on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could see how that would maybe lock it in a little bit better, but I don't know, man. Like, drag underwater, like, water is not light. Like, you're pulling pretty hard. Like, yeah.
It's serious. And they all caught fish, and so you get a little bit of fish juices in there, friction on water, fluid dynamics. Yeah. Also, there's a lot of rocks in that lake, and so you try to cast near the rocks, but sometimes I was just straight up whapping those Space Marines against the rocks, just whoosh, thunk, like falls into the lake. Which, if you're using a steel spinner or you're using, a Rapala, you got your MEPs, you got your Rapala, whatever's on there. Normally, that's a perfect cast as long as you don't actually hook the rock. That's like.
Right, you get stuck.
It just plops right next to the rock. The rocks are kind of where the bass like to hang out. But here, if you just chuck a space marine at a rock, it's not.
It tends to break.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about it. I was wondering if we could turn this one little nugget into an entire episode talking about durability, and I don't think we can, but I think we could. I think we could.
I mean, it depends.
It would require a little bit more planning, but for real, there are some model lines, GW and otherwise, that just are more durable. I mean, Space Marines are thick.
They're up
thick
there.
Of limb, thick legs, thick arms, thick chest, squat little head where the neck like goes around the head a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of protection.
Really, everything is locked in place. And yeah, if you're going to be throwing any model against a rock, Space Marine is one of the one of the better ones. Orcs might do all right.
I'd almost take a step back from that. Orcs, especially the older ones, are in multiple pieces. They're multi-part kits. So you got an arm, a torso, a head, some legs. It's a lot of joints. It's a lot of places where an orc could break up against a rock. I don't think fishing with orcs would work as well.
That's actually a good point. So the pieces are lost. A couple of them lost their backpacks. Their little Space Marine backpacks fell off of the Imperial Fist and I think the Blood Angel. And on I had one Chaos Space Marine painted up as Alpha Legion, but definitely lost. I think he lost his shoulder pad first, then he lost that whole arm, and then just his opposite hand fell off. So two of those were at actual joints, and one of them was just the hand broke off.
Somehow at the wrist, got lobbed off. It's just in a bass somewhere at the bottom of that lake. He's munching on.
Possibly, yeah.
Who knows? I think my I don't know if I want to call it my favorite part of that video, but the part that actually made me sit up and go like, "Oh no," was you putting that tripod on the rock. That got me so hard. I was just, no. Oh my goodness. What are you doing? It's going to fall in there. What if a wave comes or another boat comes by? But it didn't fall in, I'm assuming.
Wait, it did not? It did not? So, all right. So my setup was I had a tiny, dinky little canoe. So, you know me. I like canoes. I'm in my 30s, and I don't even think I can work an outboard motor.
Don't say that. What are you doing? That's embarrassing.
But I can absolutely work a paddle. I mean, you watch those videos, my J-stroke is pretty good. I can get around in a canoe. And, as I've moved a couple times in my life, I've bought Craigslist canoes, bought and sold. And, I do enjoy the classic 2-seater canoe, whether you have 2 people in the canoe or not. And I actually really like a 3-seater canoe with oars. That's a really stable fishing vessel. Sit in the middle seat of a 3-seat canoe with the oars. You can get around pretty fast rowing, and then when it's time to slow down and do some fish, you got that stability.
Yeah.
But man, I've got a 1-seater canoe right now. I think it's 10 feet long, which is for a watercraft is very short.
That is short, yes. And it's not wide. It is as wide as you sitting cross-legged. Yeah.
Yeah.
You tilt that thing
hard. So I have this dinky little 1-seat canoe, and I love it. And in some of the shots in that video, you can see the fish grabs the Space Marine, and they're not huge fish, but the fish grabs the Space Marine, and then you just get drug across the lake, and it's a lot of fun.
I could see that being, it's like the idea of using a lightweight line so that you can feel the fish more. It's definitely more of a game. It's more of the fight, that kind of thing. So being in a small boat where the 3.5 pound at best bass pulls you across the water, that'd be fun.
Yeah. A couple of them might have been close to 2 pounds, but these were. They were fun, but not huge fish. But getting pulled around.
Yeah.
And anyway, we were talking about cameras, so I figured out I had one camera strapped to my head. I had one camera mounted to the bow of this dinky little boat, and those ended up being pretty good shots as long as I had them pointed in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then just for a little more variety to make the video good, I bought like the cheapest underwater camera I could find for I think $50 or $60. And so I got some shots of just underwater, and most of them turned out pretty bad, but I got a few shots of like the lures zipping by and stuff like that.
I did enjoy those, yeah. I was hoping for a fish. I was hoping to see the fish.
Me too.
But yeah, I mean, that's just one of those things.
I caught a couple of shots where there were a few minnows swimming by, but
all right.
Maybe a future video if we go far down this stupid pathway.
I mean, it depends. Like, there have been offers to now fish, like, in Florida with Space Marines. So I'm just throwing that out there. That's
true.
On
that
the
may
table.
That may be a future episode. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, where we were going with this is then I took the one camera that I started Goobertown Hobbies with, which is it's like $400 camera, but since then I have definitely gotten my fair use out of it. Like it's paid for itself at this point. It's a trooper. I don't want to lose it, but I'm willing to take certain justifiable risks.
Sure.
And so actually in a lot of the shots, it's actually kind of stowed behind where I'm sitting in the canoe, and for most shots you can't see it. But then I did stop at land a few times, set up the tripod on land, pointed at the water, go fish around just to get some establishing shots, some nice B-roll of this dinky little boat floating around with a goober in there fishing with Space Marines. And it ended up being the most convenient place that I found to set up this tripod with this actual real camera on it. Was just on rocks in the middle of the lake.
Yes.
So
like the feet are sticking out of the water. Oh my god. What are you doing?
Yeah, so this is a lake in northern New England, and the glaciers went through here tens of thousands of years ago, and they carved up the land, and they left behind a ton of boulders everywhere. And so this is a lake that has just giant boulders sticking out of it, which one makes it hard to motorboat around. There's no motorboats, there's no jet skis. A canoe actually is a very good vessel for this lake.
Yeah.
But also there's just like tiny little islands of rocks sticking out all over the place. And so it's really easy to paddle up to one, stick a camera turret on it, like you're in TF2 or something. Just stick your camera turret on there, point it somewhere, and go off and fish. And so one of the very last shots of that video is I showed a little behind the scenes of me just paddling up to this stupid camera, sitting on a rock, and the rock is just barely big enough for the three legs of the tripod. I think one of the legs was actually submerged. Yeah,
it was that back leg, and I'm just like, oh man, that could have gone at any second.
Right. I will point out though that rock weighs like 45 tons and hasn't moved anywhere in the last 10,000 years.
Oh, I'm not worried about the rock. No, I'm worried about a wave coming by and just gently pushing the tripod over, and you coming back on, where's my camera?
Well, there's a lot of geometric stability to a tripod, you see.
That is true.
But
it's the tripod.
Yeah. The only risky part is me reaching from the canoe to pick up the tripod. That's the actual risky part. There is just me and everything else in the canoe tipping over as I'm pulling 3 pounds of equipment
right
far outside the center of gravity of the canoe. But yeah,
very true.
Yeah, but anyway, that was fun. That was what I was up to, and kind of a surprise champion was the Ultramarine. And for the Ultramarine, I used an old 2nd edition Sergeant model. And so it's Yeah, one of the plastic models that came in the second edition starter, and he's got a chain sword out to one side, and he's got a bolt pistol, and I think that is all a single piece. He came with a second piece of plastic, that's the backpack with, I think, a little flag sticking out of the back of it. I didn't use that in this case, because that would get kind of fouled up with the hook. But I think that model was the only one that took no damage during all of this. And so again, that durability, because it's a single piece of plastic that, sure, I drilled a hole through, but it's a single piece of plastic. And I actually did get a comment of somebody saying, like, well, that's a little bit of a historical model. I was kind of scared that you risked that with fishing. And nah, that's
like, how historical? Come on.
Well,
the second edition Sergeant, is that so specific? Like,
well, Guy made his video about the retro unboxing, and I mean, second edition in some ways was first edition of 40K, because first edition was Rogue Trader, which is kind of a different thing.
Yeah.
That was an RPG, yeah. And so in some ways, second edition 40K was a very important box, and so that Sergeant is a very well-known and important model, even though tens or hundreds of thousands of that model exist out there somewhere. Yeah. Many of those models were thrown away by mothers somewhere between 95 and 2003. But
yeah, those are the models that succumbed to the vacuum cleaner at one point or another. Like, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Billy's toys got thrown out while he was at college or what have you. Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah. So yeah, there's the question of is a model ever too historical to turn into a lure? But I think that just adds more character to it. Space Marines, they go into battle. Space Marines risk themselves all the time, but they shall know no fear. And this one made it back alive and in one piece, and started out a veteran, and now he's still a veteran. He's a fish veteran now.
He's a fishing veteran.
Yeah. No, but just as in the fishing hobby in general, like you do form memories and attachments to specific lures.
For sure.
Like, man, this one was the one that the mackerel were biting on, and just every cast I caught like 2 mackerel on every cast on this lure.
Oh wow.
and I also remember it because I forgot to wash it off afterwards, and the hooks rusted away, but I put new hooks on there. Even though it's all scarred up, I kept using it. But yeah, you get these attachments to lures, and they level up. They gain experience. They're your favorites, and so you gotta take risks sometimes. You gotta risk your favorite camera. You gotta risk your favorite Space Marine, Ultramarine lure. That's the way it is, because when those risks pay off, they pay off. Yeah.
That's true. That's very true.
So what have you been up to, Casey?
Oh, nothing.
Well, you said the mailman came.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of stuff actually. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of stuff in the mail last week from random people. Stuff I was not expecting, which is always really cool and nice. And yeah, I just thought I'd bring it up here as well. I talked a little bit about it in my last video, but it just deserves mentioning another time. Somebody sent me some Q-tips, some hobby Q-tips, some special ones, like real tightly packed, so that if you're taking off like an oil wash or something, that it doesn't get hairs all over the model. Because if you use regular Q-tips for that stuff, which you can, it tends to leave a lot of hairs. And it looks really bad. So, yeah.
Frequently, yeah.
So I got some of those. Like a gallon of bits, a literal gallon bag of bits, which I thought was pretty incredible. It's a lot crazy random stuff I don't know what I'm going to do with yet. And then I got this Nagash. I just got sent a Nagash.
Wow.
Yeah. Right?
Wow.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. It's worth mentioning. Like thank you to who sent this to me, because I'm not actually sure who it was. That's weird.
You know who you are, and Casey is thankful, and I'm excited. So I think we're both thankful in our own way.
Well, the sad thing about this Nagash is like he actually is painted like pretty decently. Like it's not bad at all. So
Give
I don't know
some
what
accents,
I'm gonna do.
a cool bass,
right? I'd be like, okay, this Nagash is now. So I don't know. It's interesting because like, you know, I get stuff like that in the mail, and then all it makes me want to do is be like, okay, well, now that he's here, we can work on that, and I'm gonna go spend like $600 buying all the skeletons, and we're making a new army. Or that's exactly where my mind goes, and I'm like, all right, what's next after I'm done with this like Death Guard army I've been working on, and it's got to be something fresh. The Gash seems pretty good. I don't know if that's where I'm gonna end up going, but new format, new way of doing the eBay miniature rescues, getting models like this in. Like, it's time to start building more armies, just filling out armies. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, just throwing ideas out here though. But you got that new ultrasonic cleaner.
That's true.
Probably that Nagash. Most of it fit right on in there, huh?
Actually, yeah. Luckily enough, it's big enough. I think he'll fit right in. Yeah. So I can probably drop him in there, and it'll get most of the paint off, because like I said, it looks pretty good. And then I can kind of start from scratch.
It's an option. It's an option
for sure. All that being said, what else did I do? I judged a painting competition for a local tournament. Yeah, it's called RageCon. It's a yearly convention that's like it's being started right now. I think this is their second year so far. It was pretty big. It was held at the Game Castle in Reno, Nevada, if anybody's familiar. There were about 60 people there, I'd say. Really nice spread of armies. A lot of really well painted armies too. Like there weren't really any just armies where people just didn't bother. Like they were all everyone tried, right?
Well, that makes judging a lot harder, I'd say.
It did actually. Luckily, when I got there, it was already narrowed down to like the top 10. So I didn't have to do like a lot of the judging. It was more just like
the hard part.
Yeah, the hard part, like picking the actual like winner. It was pretty cool because I was also joined by Caleb Wisenbach from CK Studios. If you're familiar with their stuff, they're always at conventions teaching classes and stuff. So he was there, and we both basically just checked out the armies and made some decisions, and it was pretty fun. It was nice going out, being at an event with a bunch of people. Obviously the whole idea was, if you're vaccinated, like you should probably come to this thing, right? Mm-hmm. So it was really interesting to be in a room with that many people.
I bet.
Like, it's been a while, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It felt good though.
So were you just picking winners, or did you have a rubric, or what kind of event were they running?
So they had their rubric, and they picked, like I said, the top 10. And then from there, it was basically kind of a personal choice, and we would list the top 5 out of the last 10 that we liked the most, like 1 through 5, and they would be given points for those, like whatever slot. Like if they were the best looking army that we thought was the best, they get 5 points, right? So whatever I thought was the best might not have been whatever Caleb thought was the best. So the points up and down, who knows? But that was how it was decided. So I didn't actually have to go off a rubric. It was more of a personal choice kind of thing. And then all the points that they were given were tallied up at the end. Our points were taken into consideration, and then a winner was chosen from there. I don't know how most tournaments work. Like, I have to assume there's usually more to it, but this was fun. It was pretty casual. Yeah, I'm just glad to actually have gone out into the public space and like been a part of something, because it's been far too long. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I also wish I got to play, but I didn't.
Well, maybe next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, good to venture out and take stock of what tournaments are like these days. I'm jealous. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that. It was. It's like It's not a unique experience, but it's just, I don't know. I guess it's just been so long that it just feels weird and unique.
Yeah, I mean, things are opening up again around here. Like, every time I go to the mall food court, there's fewer people wearing masks, and the line at Panda Express just keeps on getting longer and longer. So sometimes I go to the Japanese place and get their shrimp and chicken combo and teriyaki. That's good. But yeah, you've been getting out in the world in gaming, and recently me and my friends just discovered SpellTable, which is a new-ish way to stay at home in a game for Magic the Gathering. So
yeah, you're gonna have to explain this because I've never heard of this, and it is fascinating.
Yeah, I was blown away. It was pretty cool. So it's obviously not mini related, so we won't spend too long on it. But you set up a camera, like a webcam, just pointed down at your desk, and you take your physical deck of Magic cards, and you play your side of the table like you ordinarily would. And anyway, it's SpellTable. I think it's just SpellTable.com is a program set up by Wizards of the Coast to do exactly this. And it is able to, not only does it kind of have a nice UI to show whose turn it is and show what they're doing. There's, life counters and stuff on the side. But and it has pretty good what's the word, like audio and visual and everything. But it also has a way to like zoom in on people's cards. So most people who just hang a webcam over their desk, the resolution is not going to be good. The lighting's not going to be good. Things are not going to be in focus. Mm-hmm. And that was certainly true of my friends. Now, let's be honest, my table was crystal clear quality.
Right.
I was turning off and on lights to make sure that there was no glare on the card sleeves. Like, my side of things was taken care of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. But even if you just have a regular webcam, your opponents maybe can't read your cards, but they can see, kind of, you got some creatures out, you got some lands out. They can basically see what you have going. But then if they go and click on a card, the SpellTable program will search its library, and most of the time it can recognize what card that is. It'll pull up the file and give you a big, clear version of that card so you can read the text, which is honestly better than what you can do in an actual game. In an actual game, I mean, it is very common for, wait, what is that card? Can I see that card?
Yeah, like
can I read that?
There's so many cards out there, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because there are so many cards out there, and very common. It's just, hey, can I read that? What does that one do? But here, just while other people are taking their turn, you can just be kind of checking up on things. Let's click on this. Let's read this effect. Let's read this creature. And sometimes, especially for my friends, where it's like really blurry and just a really stupid setup. Yeah, one of my friends had hung the USB cord for his webcam from his ceiling fan.
Okay.
And dangled it down far enough that it was basically pointed at his table. But still, the SpellTable mostly recognized the cards. Every once in a while, it would bring up something that was just obviously not the same card. But,
Right.
But yeah, that was... the future is bright. That was actually a pretty doable way to have a game of... We played Commander, so there were 4 of us online, and you can... as other people are taking their turns, you can switch and watch anyone's board that you want. And so it's actually easier to be aware of everybody else's play state than it is in a regular in-person game. So
right, upside down.
Yeah, we kind of just all started doing this a couple of days ago and having a lot of fun with it, but apparently could have been doing this for the last 6 months or 12 months or whatever. But it's... If you are into Magic the Gathering, check out SpellTable. Very cool. But my one link to our mini painting hobby is that for +1/+1 tokens for the little chits that I put onto my characters, I used the chits from the Cursed City game, the Warhammer Quest Cursed City. So just that release became so toxic because they overhyped it, underdelivered, and then disappeared all references to the game of Cursed City. That's what there's a bit of toxicity surrounding that game. So
yeah, it sucks, man. It's because I have Cursed City sitting next to me. I got the foam insert. I want to play that game. I want to be able to get models painted, knock it off the list, put it in the foam insert. But
we did talk about that.
We did. It feels like it's dead. It's just dead. It sucks. So stupid. Ugh.
Yeah, those models are going to stay a bit toxic for a while, but yeah, I've made 2 videos with those models, and both of them have some comments in the comment section that are just super negative because of the disaster that the release and the PR campaign was.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But so my response to that has been I'm just not going to make any videos painting Cursed City models until maybe 2025. By then those will be retro models and cool throwbacks.
Remember that time when GW screwed everybody? That was great.
No, that'll have faded in totally 4 or 5 years, but it'll still be Glario Van Alten is a really cool model.
That's true.
That'll still be there. He's still going to be a cool model. Whoever designed that did a great job. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, every model in that box is pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's why it stings so bad.
Yeah, exactly. It's why it sucks. Yeah.
So I'm holding out for, call it 2025. I've taken my Cursed City box off of the shelf behind me so that I don't bait out negative comments that way. But in the meantime, I have found a way to put it to use. The chits, the little cardboard chits in that box.
Yeah.
Perfect tokens for playing Magic.
Nice.
There's little circles of cardboard that have numbers on them. Man, I was playing Brina, the Demagogue, and she gives +1/+1 tokens all the time. So I was putting my Cursed City 2s on there, my Cursed Cities 4s and 6s. It was actually a really, really convenient way to play. I got my SpellTable, I got my Cursed City chips. A very well managed and organized game of Magic the Gathering EDH Commander. Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's enough of that. We can get back to talking about minis now, but I figure, there's a Venn diagram here, and a lot of this overlaps.
I mean, it really does, considering that Magic was created as almost a companion to Dungeons and Dragons. D&D takes forever. What can we do in the downtime when we're just talking about it? Let's play some Magic. It fits very well. So, I don't think anybody's gonna be like, "Oh, I'll get that Magic talk out of this podcast," So whatever, that's fine. Speaking of the disaster that was Cursed City, Dominion seems to be doing ridiculously well and is not sold out currently. As we are recording this right now, you can go to the Games Workshop website and pre-order your box even right now.
Well, hope that statement doesn't age very, very poorly, Casey.
Okay, that seems fair. But
I think by the time this podcast comes out, you can just buy it in stores. But
that's actually very true, yeah. And I wonder what that's going to look like.
You can't buy it in stores.
Yeah, or we will see about that. Yeah. But, I mean, it's interesting because it's been way longer. It's still going. Like, there isn't all the scalping, you know? Although there was, so I had notifications on eBay, right? Just in case. I bought a box I actually didn't buy it off of eBay. And here's why. Because the scalped prices were higher when they first started coming out on eBay on purpose. They were assuming that there was going to be a shortage. Turns out there wasn't. I just went right onto the GW website, bought it for $200. And free shipping to my local Warhammer store. Yeah, which I don't usually do, but it was a weird kind of backwards thing. Now that it's been a week, prices have stabilized, and you can pretty much get a box for the same or less in some cases. I think the lowest I found without shipping was like $175. So, you know, you're saving $25. But yeah, I don't know. It depends. But I was pretty hyped for Dominion, still am. And I plan on getting at least another half of a box. Right now on eBay.
Which half?
Yeah, exactly. Which half? I'm not sure yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. So I would have said orcs. But then I was kind of thinking about it, and it's like, you know, I had that Stormcast army that I painted all stone cast a while back. And that was a really cool project. Like, it looked really cool. It was pretty unique. Even though, you know, the idea is old. It's been around. And I thought, you know, it'd kind of be nice to just have a 2,000 point Stormcast army just on hand. And, you know, with the new Stormcast being what they are, you know, so different from the other ones, I thought, okay, they're probably going to do a few more releases for those. They're going to look a certain way, whatever, and it's going to fill out the rest of that army. Because in the Dominion box, I think it's 1,000 points per side.
Yeah.
So, hey, you buy 2 Dominion boxes, you got 4,000 points. You got 2,000 points of each side, right? But like I said, I think they're going to put some other stuff out. But my thinking was maybe I'll paint these new Stormcasts like the Stonecast that I had, and that way just have kind of an army going. Something that's easy to fill in, something that, you know, something new comes out and you go, okay, I'll get a box of that. Cool. You know, paint it up in an afternoon, right? A couple hours. And that just kind of makes sense. Like, you can just have a fairly flexible army going. And it's like, I could do the same thing for the orcs, but like, I kind of want to paint the orcs like orcs. So it really depends on how the paint lays down on those guys. If it's kind of a pain to like get a lot of work done on those. Because like normal orcs, 40k orcs, not difficult to paint, right? Like, you get a lot of those done real quick. But we'll see about these guys.
Well, so that's actually what I've been working on. I've been an orc player, or at least an orc collector, way back. And we talked about this last episode, but I've been quite concerned that the Kruleboyz, despite being spelled with a K and a Z, are not funny. And and so I've been like, this has been my mission. I've been sitting down and painting up and trying to be like, what if I use really fun colors? Can I make them fun? And I'm still having a problem with it. Like, it's tricky. They're not smiling. Like, there's only so much you can do. You can, you know, take your kid to the best photographer in town, but if your kid doesn't smile, it's going to be a bad photo. Yeah. So, yeah, and they, you know, the pot grot, he should be a funny little dude. He's from a race that's spelled with a K and a Z. He's called a pot grot, and he's just not smiling. He's just this angry little dude, like, not happy about stirring up his brews.
Oh man.
And so yeah, I've been testing out some paint schemes, and in terms of difficulty to paint, I mean, I think they're a lot like regular orcs. You've got skin, you've got armor, you've got leather, you've got sometimes like rope or a different kind of leather.
Okay.
And so, and metal and wood for your weapons and stuff. So it's a similar arrangement of materials in terms of placement. Same kind of distribution of that stuff. So if you think orcs are relatively straightforward, I mean, I think they take a little bit of work getting all the belts and stuff. Like there's a little bit of micro to it.
A little bit, yeah. Like especially with the AOS ones, like they have been more difficult. The Iron Jaws are, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but there's a lot more stuff, a lot more distinction between items. Like the 40K stuff, I don't know, just works to like paint fast. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they're straightforward. There's some of it's a little bit slow going. Like they've got ripped shirts and ripped pants, and you got to paint the little patches of flesh in between those holes and stuff because they're not patching their stuff up. And if they are patching their stuff up, you got to paint the patch a different color.
Yeah.
I mean there's a little bit of work to be done there, but in terms of difficulty, very similar to any other orc. But still trying to find fun colors that work. And yeah, my issue with the box art on those is it's kind of green and red.
Yeah.
And in some ways it's like a mockery of fun orcs. Like fun orcs are green and red. But these are just like a little bit darker in the box art. Again, it's all just a little bit more serious. And it's just this uncanny valley of orcs that are not fun. And unorky valley. No. I won't say unorky valley, but that's what it is. It's an unorky valley. An uncanny orky valley. Mm-hmm. We're going to workshop that a little bit. We'll get back to you.
Uncanny valley? No. Sort of.
You getting there? No, I think... Look, we should do this off air because...
It might take a minute. Might take a little bit to come up with that one. Although, as just a helper, a segue, if you will, what kind of maybe hot tip could I potentially use to make painting my orcs even easier, Brent?
Casey, I'm so glad you asked that because
you have a solution.
That is what I wanted to segue into, and I was hoping you weren't just going to segue in the wrong direction.
No, we are on the same page today.
Right. Okay, so my hot tip of the day, and I ran this by you beforehand just to make sure you weren't going to disagree with me too hard on this hot tip.
I don't think I can actually disagree with you.
Okay, I'm going to go out there and say it. Black is not the best color to prime in. White is not the best color to prime in. If you are priming a model with a single color, the best color to prime in is red-brown.
Red-brown.
What were you going to say?
Nothing.
Okay, red-brown.
I said gray, but I was joking. It was a joke.
Yeah, if you're doing an off-white, I'd do tan. I'd do tan.
Yeah, it's not bad either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think gray in some ways is kind of miserable because you still got the coldness. You got the coldness of black, but you have the show every spot where you forgot to paint of white. So
and that's the issue with the lighter colors anyways, is it will show every mistake that you make, whereas black tends to cover up a lot of your mistakes. Dividing lines are now shadowed, right? But okay, so just having that out there, right? Like why white is what it is, why black is what it is, why is the reddish brown superior?
Okay. So, I mean, the basic idea here is paint is translucent. You're getting a little bit of the flavor of whatever the base coat is, whatever the primer coat is. And in my opinion, so many of the materials and colors that we paint look good over red-brown. Mm-hmm. So, first off, just In the off chance that you are painting some reddish brown things, there you go. Good.
Right.
But also anything that you're painting regular old brown, that's going to be easy to put your beastie brown, your oak brown on top of red brown. No problem there. Leather brown. That's all going to work out all right. But also, let's say you're painting in gold. Now forget the orcs for a second. Let's paint up those Stormcast that come in the Dominion box. You wanna paint them gold.
Yeah.
Brown is a great base coat for gold, and especially if you want to do like a reddish gold, get that red-brown base coat under there. There
Very
you go.
much so, yeah.
And so a lot of this is the warmth that you get from brown and red that you do not get from a black base coat. So the problem with most blacks is that they're cold, and so sometimes when you paint a color on top of that, one of the reasons why you have to layer over so many times is because the color looks bad, because kind of that coldness is seeping through.
Yeah.
Even after multiple layers. Yeah. Not so with brown. Now, let's keep going. Let's say you're painting flesh, and this is for most shades of flesh, from most shades of human flesh, even through most shades of orc flesh. Red-brown is a good base coat color, and so I've been painting red-brown for a while. And I've been working on my lads here for a while, and I did see a video from Vince, of course, where he did some undercoating in red brown, and Vince knows what he's talking about. So we're all onto a good path here.
You're right.
But yeah, Vince makes the point, which is, blood is red. And a lot of times when you're painting flesh in kind of the shadowed regions, you want to make the character seem alive is get some of the blood showing through the skin to make it look a little more realistic. And so if you have that reddish color, the deep reddish color showing through under your skin tone in some places, like whether you're doing so intentionally or not, that's going to make the model look more alive. Mm-hmm. And this is just a general rule I've learned a while ago. But yeah, the shadows make it a little more towards the color of the blood of the character, and the highlights make more towards the color of the light that's lighting the character up. But if you have characters that have red blood, then red-brown is a perfectly fine base coat for whatever flesh you're doing. Yeah. And I mean, another way to think about that is take a pot of Reichland flesh shade, use it for a couple of minutes, then accidentally knock it all over your desk, and then you soak up that giant mess of Reichland flesh shade with a paper towel. That paper towel is now red-brown, because the shade color for flesh, for Reichland flesh at least, is red-brown. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to come in right here, interrupt you with my hot tip. And that is, if you are going to be using Reichland Flesh Shade, I would suggest mixing it 50-50 with the gloss version of Reichland Flesh Shade. And that is because when you have that gloss varnish in there, while the end result is going to be a little glossy, you might have to matte varnish it down later. Generally not, though, when it's 50-50. It looks really good over golds. It brings the warmth in, and it has the, what do you call that? Capillary action. There you go. Yeah, that gloss is going to give you a little bit of that capillary action. It's going to go for those recesses a little bit better. It actually works really well on faces, too. It seeks out those recesses and gives you the hard, warm lines that then when you go back and highlight makes it a little bit easier. I've been doing this for a while now, and it is definitely one of my little secret go-tos. So yeah, since we're on the subject of Reichland Flesh Shade and warmth in the shadows, thought I'd throw that out there. See, we're just right in the line, killing it today. It's good.
Yeah. Now, Yeah, if I am ever prepared to buy 2 bottles of Reichland Flesh Shade at the same time after I knock over a single bottle, then yeah.
That is $14 in Reichland Flesh Shade. But you know what? You're probably not going to run out. Like, you mix both those together. You got Flesh Shade for days, okay?
We had a previous tip that you should probably pour most GW products, especially washes, into dropper bottles.
Yeah, and I do have that 50-50 mix in a dropper bottle, and it's labeled, and it's what I use. I don't even use the pots anymore.
If you want to double the amount of Reichland Flesh Shade that you have while also making what you already have even better, get some gloss. Yeah, okay. I have not tried this out yet, Casey, but I trust you.
It's worth doing.
To a point. Yeah, so I'm going to give that a shot. So, yeah, Reichland Flesh Shade is red-brown. Mm-hmm. And, of course it is. That's a great shade color for flesh. It's because it gets that darkness, the warmth, and kind of the blood red in, and it totally makes sense. So, as long as your orcs have reddish blood, then that's a fine base coat for their skin as well. Sometimes when you see Squidmar or somebody doing a really awesome orc, one of the things that makes it so cool is that they go in and they put pink or red or just pinky flesh tone at their elbows and knees and a little bit on their nose, and it's the little hints of red, kind of the spots of skin that are tight or raw or that blood is flowing to, one of those. It's the little bits of reddish tone that make the paint job so cool. And so just an easy way to incidentally make sure that you're getting a little bit of that in there. Prime red brown. Yeah,
that's a good call.
Yeah. And Casey, so I've used this next trick before, but you want to talk a little bit about rusty metal?
Rusty metal. Yeah. So a lot of the Death Guard army that I've been working on recently, like the last 10 weeks or so, all has been started with black primer, gone over with kind of a red-brown, basically. Like, go right over the top of it with a red-brown or a rusty brown. Apparently, Brent has also been doing this with a bunch of those.
I've got 100 skeletons here that were primed in black and then over the top red-brown. So
yes, I'm
right there with you, Casey, because these are going to be rusty skeletons. But no, continue with what you were saying.
I didn't even know that. That's amazing. So what I've been doing is, if there's anything that's just pure metal, then I have a whole, regiment for dry brushing large metallic objects anyways, that I'm pretty sure I've talked about before. I guess I can go over it again real quick, but, you get your black in the shadows, you get your rusty brown all over the place. I like to dry brush over the top of that with gold to start, and again, it brings that warmth in, right? And it gives you that nice mixture. Now, I'm not going over it too hard, but then I come in with some other colors depending on what end result is. Usually a purple and a brown for the shadows and a green for the highlights, just lightly over the whole thing, and then I run over it with silver. Alternatively, if you want something super rusty and gross, then you just kind of lightly dry brush over the red, brown, and black with silver, and you have awesome metals that have little hints of rust in them. And then you can accentuate that with brighter rust colors where those are sticking through. So I mean,
and there's a ton of variation on that. I mean, one of the recipes that I really like for rust is starting out with red brown and then using a sponge. Using a sponge to put on darker browns, to put on lighter oranges, maybe some true reds, and just get a mixture of browns and reds and oranges all kind of splotched on there. And then, like you said, take a dry brush and put on as much silver or steel at the edges as you want, where there's been chipping, and so there's a little bit of fresh metal showing through under that layer of nasty rust. And Yeah, use some washes to make some weird stains and stuff on there. There's a lot of stuff you can do, but
yeah. I mean, that's probably the best way to do rust. Like, you can even come in with just a paintbrush and, like, say you're looking at like a bolt pistol, right? And it's rusty, and you've done that. You've sponged on some different colors, but you started with that base, even just the base. You just tap with your brush, like, on some of the corners, like, just as randomly as you can around the model, following a lot of the lines. And so you kind of like, it's like you're edge highlighting, but you're doing it like really randomly. And it's the hint of that metallic in there that makes it look like rusty metal, because you're essentially just giving it a little bit of that shine, saying this is metal underneath this other stuff. So your brain just automatically assumes it's just super rusty. Yeah. I like that too. That's
absolutely. Well said. So, okay, let's keep running down the list here. We've got rusty metal.
Rusty metal.
Yep. I think gold is perfectly fine to put over red brown, depending on, you know, what shade of gold you're going for. There are different colors of gold. You know, any cloth or you know, any like leather sort of stuff that you want can look fine over red brown. And then honestly, most shades of skin tone, red brown is a fine place to start layering up from.
Yeah.
Even green skins, yeah. So
yeah.
So yeah, you know, I've been playing around with these orcs, and I've primed them in a few different colors, but most of the ones that I've painted so far, I primed with red brown. And it works on pretty much all of the textures that I'm working on. Like, it's a good place to start. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's what I had to say about this hot tip is, yeah, reject white and black and gray, and get yourself some red brown and maybe some tan. Yeah, that's what you need.
I will say, though, if you are painting something not necessarily metallic, not necessarily that you want to end up being a red-brown or have that kind of undertone, if you prime that way and then do a zenithal over the top of that, you can still have your shadows with that warmth and that darkness to help you. And then using like a zenithal, you can do a filter of some other color over the top of that. So if it's something weird, you know, you might end up doing like blue armor or something, you know, who knows what it'll be, but you still have that kind of warmth, and that's fun to experiment with because you can go all sorts of directions with that, you know. Yeah.
Man, I'm happy with that hot tip.
It's a good one.
Yeah,
it was a deep one.
That doesn't always happen, but I was pretty happy about that.
That was extra hot. My hot tip was just like an addendum to that entire subject hot tip.
It flowed together. It was wonderful. Wonderful.
I like it.
All right, so I've got I was gonna make my confession. I've stopped my hobby streak. I got to like 230, 240, something like that. But I stopped my daily posting on social media of what I've been up to. And I mean, it happened when I was at the lake. The internet was not good.
Yeah, like ironically, fishing with Space Marines, that somehow ends your hobby streak. I think I would give you a pass in this case, but you know.
No. I mean, it's not that I'm not getting hobby done every day. Right. It's that I no longer need the training wheels that are the hobby streak.
Okay.
I'm getting hobby done every day. I don't need it, and someday I may return to the hobby streak. There's a certain fun to the discipline of it. There's a certain fun to you know, getting your stuff out there on social media. But for now, I'm gonna walk my own path, and Dana Howell is just gonna keep forging ahead into the 8 and 900s and beyond. Yeah.
Is she over 1,000 yet? I swear, it feels like it.
I think she's high 8s right now, but I could be wrong.
So much. That's so many days. I mean, the weird thing is, like, we're already thinking about this stuff on basically a daily basis. And I know not everybody does, and that's the idea, you know. But we are in a weird unique position that it's right in front of us.
Oh yeah. So we'll see. I mean, if it turns out that I devolve into just playing more and more Total War, Warhammer 2, or 3, and then just new battle mode. I mean, look. I think I can avoid the worst of the temptations and still get hobby done every day.
Yeah.
But I stopped the hobby streak. I mean, really, the danger is getting to where Dana is. You know, once you're over a year, you can't break that. Like that becomes like something in your brain will no longer allow you to break that beautiful hobby streak, and then you work for it at that point.
Right.
And so that's I don't know if I want those shackles. You know, I think I had to break it before a year. I had to.
That makes sense. So when are we going to get a hobby streak for like posting YouTube videos? Is that going to be a thing?
Go easy, man. Just be cool.
Oh, yeah. I didn't set any parameters. I'm just asking.
Look, today, actually, we're recording on a Tuesday, and I posted a video today. This is the first Goobertown Tuesday in kind of a while.
That is a while. It's been 2 years.
No promises for next Tuesday, but
Good call. No promises.
Goobertown Tuesday streak of 1 is still not bad.
Perfect. That is not bad at all.
That was going to be my thing. This is a kind of an inside joke, but it is I don't know, the common release schedule of YouTubers trying to put out one video a week, or if not more, but you get into that weekly schedule of I post on Mondays or Fridays or whatever. I was going to be Tuesdays. That was my plan.
Yeah, I remember that.
One time I got up to a streak, a hobby streak, Goobertown Tuesday hobby streak of 4, and I was pretty happy. And then I fell off that particular wagon. But any time when I happen to post on a Tuesday, I smile a little bit to myself. And
right, yeah.
Sometimes a keen-eye observer will leave a little comment on that video of Goobertown Tuesday returns.
Tuesdays are back.
No streak on, no particular streak on that horizon, but
seems fun.
I don't need the training wheels of Hobby Streak anymore. If you do, that's fine. If you're having fun with it, that's fine. I'm off for now. Perhaps I'll return later, but who knows what the future may hold.
Yeah, like I've been printing a bunch of stuff out, and it's kind of been a thing, like weirdly easier than it was last time, but I still feel like I know nothing. You just get like a good run of 3D prints out. And like, I did not screw these up. That feels pretty good.
I do. There's if you don't have a 3D printer, and even if you do, this is a very common experience where sometimes everything is working, all of your prints are coming out great, and then something just changes and half the prints come out and the other half is just stuck to the
exactly. Stuck to the
just
stupid
a pancake.
Yeah.
And sometimes nothing works at all.
Yes.
But I think actually temperature has something to do with it, and so temperature has been hot recently for I assume
108
everyone.
Today. 108.
Yeah. And for printing, this seems to be most people's experience that hot temperatures are better than cold temperatures for getting successful prints. So just a possibility, or maybe you're just your build plate is so level right now that you're just cranking it out.
The nice thing is, like, I leveled it, and like I've been taking prints off of it and like not touching it, like being super careful. And the cool thing is about at least the printer that I've been using, the what is it, like the Anycubic Mono, the build plate is built in such a way that like I don't have to grab the like joint where you level it. I can grab it from like the actual plate. So if I'm like wanging on the thing trying to get something off, right, like hitting it, it's not gonna actually move the level, right? So yeah, I feel like I've been having some good luck with that, and I've gotten a lot lot of stuff done. Printed out a whole bunch of Nurgle stuff because I'm trying to convert this knight up, and I got all this stuff in the works for this stupid thing. Price is going up.
On your recent video, the dozer that you printed off for that rhino looks really good.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. That was a good kit. And what I felt was a good example of like, here's something that aesthetically looks like GW that doesn't change the model at all, that I can throw on and it just looks like part of my army, you know?
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that about 3D printing. You know, you just give it that little extra, you know? Mm-hmm. So that dozer blade is going to get a similar treatment to my other chevroned dozer blades. Although I've got that like lime green and a nice yellow going, I'm not sure if I should do a different color. Like if I should do that like fluorescent pink, you know, like get that trifecta going.
like grapefruit pink, going for the citrus.
If I was gonna do that,
I don't know. Blue or teal came into my mind. Those always look good. But,
that's actually a good call. I like that. Yeah, teal is always a good call. Like there is no wrong time to use teal.
That's true. Yeah, well, I was trying it on some of those Dominion orcs, and it's a possibility. I'll tell you what.
All right.
So I actually have some prototype airbrush paints in my possession right now.
Prototype.
And yeah. So you've got your secrets, I've got my secrets, but the world may see them later on. I don't know, but it's a paint brand is coming out with a new line of airbrush paints, and so I was trying those out. So I took, and of course one of the colors they sent me was turquoise or teal, depending.
Like a good pure turquoise though, because that honestly, like in an airbrush line, or even just in a bottle, like turquoise, right, is so hard to find.
It is.
I don't know why it is hard, but it just is. Like nobody has a pure, amazing turquoise. Like I always have to mix it. Anyways.
Yeah, well, you know, we may have definitions of what's turquoise and what's teal and all that stuff, but it's I've got a blue green in my possession, or a greenish blue maybe, I don't know.
One or the other.
And actually this line is selling as triad. So what I did is I took a black primed Tau Piranha, and I just started doodling around and making spots and splotches and stripes and stuff. Mm-hmm. And layering up from dark teal to mid teal to light teal, and it looks good. If you watch Goobertown Hobbies, you may know that I mostly spray inks. Like I prime and then I use inks. And although I have some airbrush paints, I don't use them very often. But actually, I was having a good time with this stuff. It made me want to try a little harder. There's still just a little bit of speckling. Like if you look close, you can be like, okay, yeah, this was done with an airbrush, and you're getting a little bit of speckling in there.
Yeah.
But it was very fine speckling, and the overall effect. It was actually a moment where I thought to myself, I could actually paint up a Tau force or a Drukhari force. With this kind of pattern of black background with little, kind of random patterns and almost like a camo effect of teal or
that
probably a lot of other colors could look good with that too.
Good.
Yeah. So, I forgot what we were talking about, but I just remembered I had fun with my. It was having fun with the airbrush, and at any time I did feel like I took a little step ahead because I had fun using an airbrush paint, and I've had tons of fun using airbrush or not airbrush inks, but putting inks through my airbrush
for sure.
And this was just one of the better experiences I've had with an airbrush paint.
That's interesting.
I just thought I'd mention that. You said teal. That's what happened. Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
You were doing dozer
yeah.
blades. You were thinking about teal dozer blades because you were 3D printing. Boom, back on track.
Yeah. Wait, but okay. So I obviously you can't talk about whose paint line this is. I think I have an idea, but I'm sure that'll come out eventually. But like having fun with actual airbrush paints, I don't think we've ever actually talked about this because like we both obviously airbrush. I think I'm more the like pushing for it more often kind of airbrush person. But I'm wondering if that's because you haven't had very good experience using airbrush paints or just getting the right consistency or speckling issues or whatever that is. You know, is that why you don't use the airbrush more often?
I think that may be the case. So I actually have come to really like the airbrush, and I am tempted to use it all the time. I actually limit myself a little bit because I know that a lot of people watching at home don't have an airbrush, so I try to have some projects where I use it a lot and some where I try to restrain myself and be like, look, I did a zenithal highlight. You're not gonna kick me away from that unless I'm just doing straight red-brown, but
even that rattle kit.
Yeah, I'll do a zenithal prime, maybe on camera, maybe not, and then paint with a brush. But yeah, I actually really do enjoy the airbrush. I enjoy everything about it.
Yeah.
Except, of course, I don't like splatters. I don't like I guess it is the airbrush texture.
It is tiny overlapping
having
dots that create opacity.
Yeah, the way that one color fades into another when it's not a perfectly smooth transition, when you can kind of zoom in and see that there's tiny little dots that make up that transition. Yeah.
Interesting.
And so that's what's going on. So if you've ever tried to zenithal prime using airbrush paint instead of white ink, so you have a black model, you load up with airbrush paint, white airbrush paint, and you try to do a zenithal prime, you'll basically get the effect, but it won't be as smooth, and if you look, there'll be tiny little dots of white that kind of fade from the lighter grays to the darker grays. That transition is made by how many little tiny dots of white that are visible to the eye, especially if you're looking for them.
For sure. I don't want to jump in and be like hot tip, but ways to get around that are the whole next level marriage system of marrying your colors. So if you want a zenithal with white paint over the top of black paint, then why not mix your black with your white first? Do a zenithal, then a little more white. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's the way that you get around a lot of that stuff. Like, you have to be more patient. Like, you really have to just be on your trigger the whole time and make sure that you're not overdoing it. You're not laying it down. It's almost like you want the paint to hit the model and dry immediately. So like that trigger control is very important when you're just using that paint. And people who have mastered that, like, gives them it's the best, right? The best transitions with the brightest colors. Inks being introduced like not that long ago, I feel like, really changed the game as far as that goes.
It's just like finer particles or something like that seem to give.
Yeah, it's like there's
easier,
more color
transitions
for less liquid or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's definitely a lot smoother, and I'm sure that has to do with like however
or
that
the way the binder
atomizes.
Flies through the airbrush,
right?
And for the size of particle, something like that.
Something like that.
But no, you make a really good point, and that's why I was wanted to talk about white on top of black to really emphasize the bad look of that speckling. But part of the reason I think I was having a better experience is because I was using this triad of teal or turquoise paints, and so it was black, and then I was using dark turquoise, and then I was using mid and then light, and that is that intentional kind of transition that you're just talking about there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and if they're designed to go together, then the assumption would be that it is a mixture of the dark and the light, and that's what you get your midtone from.
Yeah.
It's not some
it's just a
formula, but
it's just a question of whether that darker turquoise is going to have a visible speckle over the black, I guess. And I think there's a lot of experimenting that I still need to do. I need to sit down and have a day where I really teach myself thinning and air pressure, I think. Yeah. To really get my control as good as it can be over that sort of stuff. So
I can see, and that definitely has a lot to do with it. Once you've found a good air pressure, like I've found that I don't change my air pressure that often anymore.
Sure.
Like it lives at like 30.
Me too.
All the time.
Me too. Yeah.
And it's like every so often,
which
if
I found to be good for inks, but I don't know about paints, right?
I mean, for paints, it's kind of the same thing because you can thin your paints down. Now, obviously, if you're thinning your paint too much, then it becomes an issue. And then what are you thinning it with? What kind of pigment is it going to break? Whatever it is. So it depends on the paint. But like more of the highly pigmented paints, you can thin them down a little further, and they stick together. And you can run them just like an ink. You just have to be careful. So, I don't know. I think, like dedicating a few sessions of just like doing all the experimenting would be a good call. Because I think you are like on the cusp of like getting over that little barrier, right? Of getting into this new world of like, well, I can make my paints do what my inks do. And that just opens up the possibilities.
Yeah, and I think I would want to sit down with a black primed model and my white paint and figure out how to make that white paint as not speckly as possible. Because you kind of use that as the hardest thing to do and the most obvious when it's working and the most obvious when it's not working.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah, for an airbrush paint, I'd prefer if I didn't have to do my own thinning. I would. I understand that you get a little bit more in the bottle if you have to thin it out, but I'd really prefer if it was, all done for me. Just putting that into the cup of the airbrush.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll change the pressure. Well, yeah. Anyway, so that was a fun thing I did this week. Doing some airbrush sprays over just a black base coat, leaving some of the black intact, and then having other areas of the model, kind of fade into some really fun colors, in this case, teal. And I've got a feeling that this may show up on Goobertown again at some point as the vehicle design for either Tau or Drukari or something else yet to be named. We'll see.
Sounds awesome.
Man, I totally bogarted your 3D printing. Not a hot tip, but we were talking about dozer colors, and we just got off onto. I got off onto teal.
Anytime you start going off on teal, like I'm right there with you. Like teal is, it's a wonderful color. It's a wonderful.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like just because we're still on teal, because I decided so. If you mix golden high flow acrylic, blue and green, makes a great teal. Like 50-50 those, it's so good. Yeah. And that actually feels like ink because they're high flow, like super thin and like ridiculously pigmented. So you don't need a lot, and it's definitely like you're not really seeing any speckling, and like because they're ultra transparent, like it's almost like it's more transparent than the actual ink. Do you know, like if you do like yellow ink that's transparent over white, and it eventually like it picks it up nicely. I feel like the golden stuff like takes even a little bit longer. Like if you have a black to white gradient, like it will pick all of that up, but it takes longer, but it looks more vibrant. Yeah, it's interesting paint. But the teal you can get that's my go-to right now.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
I feel like there's been a lot of painting talk in this episode.
So I taught a painting class for a local convention. So this is PortCon, Maine, and it's a convention in Portland, Maine. It might actually be South Portland, Maine. It's a nerd convention. I think there's more maybe cosplay than anything else. I haven't actually been in person, so it was a hybrid convention this year. I think they did the cosplay in person, and then a lot of other stuff was online only. Mm-hmm. So I taught an online painting class, and I had my cameras hooked into a Zoom call, and so it was actually like a pretty good tech setup. And there was one student in the class, plus the panel moderator, plus I think another event coordinator. But that was fun. Just trying to get involved in the local nerd economy here, and hey, nowhere to go but up. So I think this particular convention, I mean, it's a nerd convention. Some gaming, fantasy, sci-fi, all that good stuff. And I think the like minis and mini painting and mini gaming side of this particular convention has been a little bit lackluster the past couple of years, but we're gonna build it up. We're starting with one student, and next year we're gonna have more. Next year is gonna be in person.
Oh yeah,
and be able to just grab people off the street and fill those seats if we need to. Grab some bronies from the hallway and see if they want to paint a pot garage or anything. And I think it's gonna be good. Yeah,
that sounds cool, man.
So that was it was fun. It was just 2 hours of essentially a stream, but having a conversation, talking, and I was painting actually another copy of Danny 3D Printing DM, the Lost Adventures Volume 2, the Turtle Folk Druid.
Yes, awesome.
lovely model, and painted it up in a different paint scheme. And actually the paint scheme that I ended up kind of crowdsourcing from the couple people in the chat there was green and ochre and red brown. Okay. And then I took that and applied it to some orcs from Dominion, and it's one of the better paint schemes that I found so far. So
no, that makes a lot of sense.
Anyway, that was a nice little Sunday activity. Teaching a convention class, and I got a good feeling about 2022, 2023. We're going places.
Yeah, I think so. Like nothing really stopping us right now.
Yeah. No, you're involved in your local community. I'm doing what I can here in mine, and that's what we've all got to be doing. Seeing how we can help out the local mini painting scene.
I think so. Speaking of helping out the local painting scene, another one, just getting it in there. Not that it's really okay. It's not really. I'm just saying that. I'm gonna be hanging out at the Game Castle in Reno, Nevada, every third Friday of the month, just to hang out and paint. There's a hangout and paint session. I'm going to try and be there as many times as I can. I know that Caleb Wisenbach also is going to be there, and a couple other people who are much better painters than I am. Golden Demon winners, essentially, which is insane if you're anywhere near this area. So it's the third Friday of the month in the Reno Game Castle. Yeah, so I'm actually really looking forward to that. Like, it's a just casual hangout with a bunch of other people painting models. Like, sounds like a good time.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. So I mean, not necessarily helping my local community. Like, I'm sure I can answer questions, but like, it's more of a hangout and paint and learn.
But look, If anyone wants to dox Casey, you follow him to the game castle every third Friday. You find the party van. You place a tracking beacon on the party van. And, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do next, but I think I've got you far enough at this point.
You know what's stupid? We have a shop in town called the Spice Shop. It's been here for like the last 40 years, and it is just like non-military spy equipment. That's like, yes, you can put this low jack on someone's car and GPS them for $50.
On the third Thursday of the month, you go to Spy City. And
yeah, exactly.
You buy the equipment, you take that back to your cheap hotel room, you figure out how to use it that night. Then on the third Friday, go to the game castle, find the party van.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do.
Do whatever you got to do to just bust.
Well, I think this has been really informative. I think we've given some people enough instructions.
If you want an even cheaper way, that's actually, I can't imagine it's technically illegal. I don't know how tracking people is counted through GPS, but you know how they sell those little fobs to like put on your keychain or in your wallet or something if you lose something. You just go buy one of those.
Yeah,
same thing.
Or you could literally just follow the van home.
I mean, you really probably could.
That's called fieldcraft.
Right.
You know, Casey cannot spot a tail. He does not have that capability.
No, in fact, the van is.
You don't even have
long.
to be like 3 cars back. You just you can ride his bumper the entire way to his home.
That's probably actually true. Yeah.
All
the windows are so tinted
driveway.
that, like at night, I cannot see out the back windows. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because he's got all that stuff in the party van. Those back windows do not do what they're supposed to do.
No, they really don't.
I don't even know if it's street legal, but that's not the point.
In California, probably not. Nevada, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah. And great on that state. Note, thank you again for joining us on another episode of Paint Bravely. If you enjoy this podcast, please help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and sharing this message with your hobby friends. And as always, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time, everyone. We appreciate you. Stay footloose.
I do like to. All right, before we actually cut out, I'm just going to clarify this. I can cut this later if it's actually a thing, but someone had mentioned maybe, this is episode 35, okay? Maybe 30 episodes ago, that you were purposely trolling them by bringing up teal in every episode. Because without fail, in 35 episodes, teal comes up.
Okay, I think we need to be honest about this. I wasn't, but now we are.
Yeah, I thought so. That's because that's the track I've been on for at least 30 episodes, is trying to bring it there.
I actually prefer the word turquoise over teal, but look where we are. I don't even know if they're synonyms or not.
I mean, they're technically the same color, aren't they?
Are they?
Is one like more green?
I don't know if one's like a little more blue and a little more green. We don't know.
It doesn't matter. It's the same idea.
Leave a comment below if Matt doesn't edit this all out.
Well, the irony is Matt's on vacation this week. I'm editing this.
This is going to be a great episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.